Hey all, Rick Rex here, back with another one for you, and this time we're wrapping up our look at Sorcery with the melee build. And I'm sorry it took so long to get this one up and together for y'all, but I've had some holiday stuff to deal with, plus I had a nice little bout of COVID that really kind of put the brakes on things for me. The good news is that I'm feeling better and I'm back in the saddle and ready to get back to work for y'all again. So of course, we're going to take a look at the mods, the artifacts, the allies, the build, the loadout, and of course we're going to check out what kind of damage Sorc Melee can put up. But first, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing and also to not miss one single update as they drop. Okay, so Sorc Melee. Now I will advise, as I have found with every power set that I've done, if you are not super speed, do not worry about this playstyle. It's just not worth it in the end, as you won't see a damage jump for the risk that you take while meleeing. Also of note, it was pointed out by an old friend of DCUO that Fury was overprocking in my parses due to a test dummy feedback on power. Now I noticed this and I did check it out ahead of time before putting the loadout out, and it really produced such a negligible difference that I kept him in the loadout and did my normal format. And the difference was literally 1500 to 2000 DPS, and that's really kind of an acceptable range from my perspective to not mess with the format. However, I did go back and retest after it was brought up, and the difference was slightly larger than I thought, and depending on the card that popped, it went all the way up to 5000 DPS, and that's just out of tolerance for me. So in this one, I'm using Robot Sidekick to sub in for Fury to simulate what normal damage output will look like. Now Fury will spike higher and put out more than Robot Sidekick will, but I'd rather underperform on the dummies than show you inflated numbers. So now that we got all of that out of the way, we're going to hit a brief overview of the white mods, as those are important, but they don't change much in the build for Sorc altogether. So in our weapon, we're going Replenishing Adapter to get power back quickly if it becomes an issue. In our head, we're going Supercharged Grand Summoning. In our neck, we're going Escalating Might as always. And in our back, we're going Berserker. In our chest, we're going Penetrating Strikes. And our legs, well, they're really completely up to you since nothing really fits the build. Now our feet, we're going Tumbling Master. And in our hands, as always, max damage. For arties, we're going to use the Trans Strat Quiz combo for this one. Trans for the extra crits, Strat to leverage those crits into innate damage, and Quiz, well, for a few reasons. First is Mega Blast for the extra damage that it gives us, plus that'll also give us 1% supercharge in return, and Refractal Beam, when we use our super, we get that extra damage tick as well, which is really nice. Now for allies, we're going with our new Trinity here. Superman for his cone AoE damage that hits really nicely, and remember, if you don't have him leveled, you can always go Cyborg here and do just fine. In our first passive, we're going to use Batman Who Laughs for his Luck of the Draw ability and the buffs that those cards provide us. And to round it out, we're going with our new member of the Trinity, Shazam, and we're going to use his passive, Power of the Shazamily. Remember, throw those allies early and often for the extra 6% might buff that he puts on us, and that's really like an Omega, even a little bit better, for 30 seconds every time you throw an ally, y'all. And now for the build. In our weapon, we won't be spending any points here, as we just simply won't be using it. For our movement mode, remember, we only should melee if we're super speed, so with that in mind, we're going to grab our super, and then Vortex Trap on the second row, our innates to the lower left, and while we're down there, let's go on ahead and grab Whirling Dervish. Now for iconics, we aren't going to take anything here, so no points are needed to spend. And for our stat or skill points, we're going Superpowered Focus, we're going to max out our crit attack chance and damage, and then we're going to dump everything into Might and Power. Anything left over from here is going to go straight into health, because remember y'all, a dead DPS does no DPS. So with this build, it puts my might at 176,500 for comparison's sake. And now for the star of the show, and that's the loadout. So we're going with Circle of Destruction, Shard of Life, Vortex Trap, and Whirling Dervish, and we're going to round that out with Fury and Grand Summoning. So the reason Super Speed has such a grip on the melee playstyle is found right here. It's those two powers, Vortex Trap and Whirling Dervish. And it isn't about how hard the powers hit, because if you look at them from that perspective, they're really just okay. But it's more about how many times you're able to hit your targets in a given time frame. And nothing other than precision is competitive when it comes to this. Thus, the most damage one can put out is found in those two powers, Whirling Dervish and Vortex Trap. Now the rest of the loadout is just to set up dots and proc that strat more often because of it to maximize the damage output. So the rotation here is pretty simple. We're going 1 2 3 4 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 2 3 4, and just rinse and repeat. Also of note here, the reason we're using Circle in our melee build is really twofold. Now it puts a dot on everything regardless of its position relative to you, where Soul Siphon is a cone attack and will not hit things behind you to apply the PI, and also, it's a dot which is super important to us, and it also is a PI applicator to boot. Now any other build, the go-to is Soul Siphon, but due to position being key in a melee build, Circle of Destruction for the win every time. So now that we have all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and check out what kind of damage this thing can do. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and get the bad out of the way. Our low comes in at only 200,349, which is horrible. But the best I can tell is our strat card went to sleep on us for a second here, and it's an outlier and the only one that dipped that low. Now our high does come in at an amazing 260,542, which is an impressive parse altogether, and we did have a few drift up towards that number, which I really like to see. Now our median, or where the loadout is going to live, comes in at the mid to upper 230s, which does outdo the range potential, but not by leaps and bounds, as it's only 10,000 higher DPS than what your ranged is. Now I would say if you love this playstyle, then go for it. You're going to do good damage, but if you factor in the potential amount of times that you'll go down, well, accept it at your own discretion. So if you're just simply wanting to put more damage on the board, if you factor everything in, I think your ranged is really going to be the best way to go. But now it's time for my favorite part, y'all. Let's drop everything. Man, I love that part. Okay, so our big hit comes in at 2,141,845 DPS. Yeah, that's right. For those of you sitting in the back, that's almost 21.5 million in damage in 10 seconds. You want to melt some ads? This is the way. And here's the nice part about Grand Summoning. As we can see, the amount of time these beasties are out is long. We followed that big hit up with one at 301,466 and another at 314,939 before settling back into that normal mid-200s range. Y'all, Grand Summoning was written off for so long and we just forgot how good this thing is. I love it. Well, alright y'all. That wraps up Sorc Melee and the Sorc Power Set altogether. This one was a blast, but thanks for joining, and once again, if you like what you see and you want more, hit that like and subscribe button to help keep the channel growing and also to not miss one single update as they drop. I'll see y'all next time.